this is Neenah and welcome to another LDRS creative card video. Today we're going to create a split card design using the new Sweet Birthday Wishes kit. There are two stamp sets. We're going to use both stamp sets. There is acetone acetate sheets that you can use for foiling or use them as they are. There's 6x6 pattern paper and heavyweight cardstock. So here's the patterns. They're very pretty and the colors are amazing. And we have 3 pieces of heavyweight cardstock. I have 2 sets here, but the card kit comes with 3 of them. So let's get started. I will be using the balloons along with the strings and a sentiment from the other set. Also, I'll be using some masking paper. We are going to do reverse masking and coloring the balloons using ink blending, so it will be in a way fall coloring. So let's get started. I'm using my stamp positioning tool to stamp the balloons and the strings, and I'm using hybrid raven ink to stamp them. Inking that, and I'm using the Stampendable tool. I'll apply this a couple more times. I'll repeat the process to have nice and intense black image. So I think that looks good. Just a little bit more on the strings. Now I will stamp the image. I'll clean up the balloons because we don't need really that black ink for the mask. I'm stamping that on masking paper. You can see it's barely visible, but you can still see to cut it out. So what I'm doing here, I'm just cutting the center, like those circles for the balloons. I'm not cutting around. I will make sure that I just remove that circle from the middle because we're going to use the negative from that mask. And I'll use Prickly Pear Perfection, Marina Madness, and Fandango to apply ink on the balloons. Because I stamped a few times with the black ink, I'm using my heat tool to make sure that it's nice and dry so the ink doesn't smear when I ink blend the other ink. So I decided not to remove the backing of my masking paper. I just put tape on the back and I'm positioning on top of my balloons. I'm using little mini ink blending tools. You can use any ink blending tool of your choice. And I'm applying the Marina Madness on the largest balloon. Next I will move to Prickly Pear Perfection. Apply on one of the smaller balloons. And then I'll move to Fandango and apply it to the other small balloon. So now we're going to remove the mask, and here we have our colored balloons. Also, this set comes with coordinating dies, so I will use the balloons to cut out the balloons, and it cuts 3 separate balloons even though we stamped those together. It's the same thing for the strings. I'm using some see-through tape. Now for the strings, I already die cut a piece of white cardstock that's not stamped, and I'll use this as a guide to position those so I make sure that they're nice and centered. So I'm adding that negative from the die cuts, and then I'm sliding that die in the slots and taping it in place. So by magic of YouTube, we have already those die cut. I'm just taking them out from the cardstock. So now let's try to start to assemble the card. So I'll use one of the sentiments from the stamp set that comes in the kit, and add the cloud's edge die to create that split card design. So I'm positioning on top and the bottom and marking with my pencil where I want that cloud border to be. So by magic of YouTube, I had cut the one part. Next I'm positioning for the second part. And we're going to remove that middle piece. We are actually going to use it just to do some stenciling. So before we move on to that, I'm stamping the sentiment onto the bottom piece of that cloud edge. Again, I'll stamp it a couple times to have nice coverage, and we have nice and sharp sentiment. Okay, so we have all the pieces together, and here is my leftover from that center from the cloud edge. So I will use that one to stencil some with little boys blue ink. I'm using my ink blending brush, and I'll do three different layers of that cloud edge. It's very subtle blue, so it's barely visible, but it still adds a little bit of texture. I'll move it one more time and apply along the edge. Okay, so now we're all done, and what we have left to do is to assemble our card. I'm adding some foam tape on back of the cloud borders. I'm making sure that it's covered nicely, so when this card goes through the mail, it doesn't get squished. I'll do the same on the top part. Cutting a little thinner strip of that foam tape. Now I'm using my scoring tool to line up those borders so it's nice and straight and lined up with the edges. Okay, so we have that split card design created there. What we have left to do is to adhere the balloons and the strings. So I'm also adding some foam tape on back of the balloons. Before I adhere that pink balloon, I will add the string for the green one. So I think that looks good. I'm adding the string on the blue one. And now we can adhere the pink balloon. And then the string. Okay, now we did an ink blend on the little pieces of the balloon, so I used some markers to fill that in. And that actually finishes our card for today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Also, please visit the blog for more ideas and more inspiration. Thanks for watching. Bye!